Animosity! Hello! Happy Friday night and welcome in. We've got Jotunheim action tonight. It's Andvari's Greed versus sometimes on time, but tonight we are on time. Anthony Malum, Z-Tan, Soulslaw on the side, bringing you the action tonight. Z-Tan, how are you doing?
I am loving the soul slaw on the side comment. I
Yeah,
am
I came up with that
doing
a few seconds
great.
ago. Thank you. I liked it too.
Yeah. Hey, I appreciate it. I am doing great. Looking forward to this matchup. Been seeing some really interesting stuff since this most recent patch. There are some wild builds going around, some wild picks. Looking forward to it.
There is a lot of wild stuff going on since this patch. A lot of new options for builds, which is fun, and I feel like not something we get to deal with and talk about often in Smite. It seems very often there's that one build that a role is dead set on going. I think of how many times we've seen Executioner Keensize be meta, and while it is still meta, there's at least options now in a lot of these roles, which is where it gets unique.
Yeah, the last time I remember seeing mannequins in a carry build that was doing well was never. Um,
Don't hold back, yeah.
Loving it, loving it, absolutely loving it. I always wished that item would go on carries, and it just never did. And then they put attack speed on it. It's a good time. Pretty standard bans out here so far. Nobody likes the whale. Nobody likes the wind lizard.
Thanatos is interesting. Feels like a target ban.
It can be. He is, as of right now, he's very, very strong out of the jungle, especially with your more I don't die frontline dive out of your like Osiris, your Bologna. It gives you a lot of options to kind of execute without having to actually, put him to zero. Um, he's doing well. I like it.
Win peace by force.
Hachiman going to be the first lock-in for Andvari's Greed, and that is huge. Hachiman has been the most fought over character in picks and bans since Worlds and continues to be so.
Yeah, and with pretty good reason.
Me booty is the best booty.
He checks all the boxes. He's got the safety. He's got the DPS. He's got the ult. He's got the stim. He's got MP5. He itemizes well. The god's number one, and unless there's a serious shift in itemization or a nerf to him, it's gonna stay that way.
Sobek on the other side being a lock-in. I do like Sobek against Hachiman. I feel like that's kind of an underrated, not counter pick, but I feel like they do play well into each other. Because one thing about Hachiman everyone likes to talk about is how safe Hachi is and how you really can just kind of do anything you want. Walk far back, still get your damage across Sobek, can chase that down, can counter some of your lifesteal early on as well, which is nice. The Chernobog will be supporting that Sobek, or will Sobek be supporting the Cherno? Honestly, at levels like this, it's up for a toss-up.
Sobek is handily capable of doing a lot of damage. So it very well may be that Chernobog ends up in that supporting role in that lane. He Sobek can do it. Vulcan, I love it. We casted a game here last night. I am really, really excited to be seeing this god get some gameplay. I know that you are not, and I want you to know that that's okay. I'm excited enough for both of us.
Yeah, dude, my least favorite character is Vulcan, but I do know a lot about Vulcan, and I like to watch Vulcan when I'm casting him. My problem is when I'm in-game, so thankfully, me being in-game so little is nice. The Rod Tasker, to follow it up, though, one thing that's already making itself profoundly clear is that Andvari's Greed has one heck of a team fight.
Yeah, their team fight is looking really strong, and I probably said this word 47 times in the cast last night, but their secure is looking great too. That Earthshaker is going to do a lot, whether it's launched at the objectives or at the opposing backline. One thing I do want to see sometimes on time do here is match that pick, you need something that you're able to secure with, or you're going to need to kill Vulcan.
So one thing I want to ask you then, with Bologna, I know I've heard you say this a million times, and I agree. Bologna, designed to kill the ADC, to make the ADC's life miserable, allow you not to do ADC things, and one thing you're touching on in general is that Bologna is going to be great for diving. For the rest of these picks going through, as we're now in second ban phase, if you're Andvari's Greed, what's something you can look at, not just for laning with Bologna, because we all know the counters, stunning out, or stopping the bludgeon, they'll be forced to max the Scourge. What do you do for late game? What's something that can kind of give you some support, good peel from Bologna to maybe help your backline survive the Bologna diving in?
You got a couple of options when you're looking at fighting a Bologna. A double ADC can do very well in simply killing her. You've got the option to kind of play her just like you would play into a Vamana, which is to grab a Sprute and just run. There's several ways you can go about it, but almost none of them involve your carry actually fighting her. She just does so well into it, and
So I'm guessing that's a mid. And I mean, there are some hunters mid. Double hunters are a thing. But double hunters are a thing in the sense of Chiron, AMC. And honestly, aside from that, I mean, I know its ability. I haven't seen many others in competitive settings. I haven't seen the likes of Neath. I haven't seen a Marty. I've seen Marty banned, but I haven't seen Marty played in a very long time. So the Izanami feels very out of left field.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful lock-in from Andvari's Greed here. Zing just got a buff, and you are playing into a Chernobog, an Izanami, and a Bologna. You're going to get that attack speed debuff, damage decrease. I absolutely love the pickup from Andvari's Greed here, with a Nike just, added in for fun.
A mighty sword!
I really like the Nike, honestly. Okay, the Ao Kuang, now I'm just completely thrown off. I mean, I understand you have the Izanami, so you're going double hunter. You feel, Bologna, you feel a lack of magical damage. Sobek does offer some in this scenario, unless there's like a Stone of Binding that finds its way into the build, you can assume not a lot of damage. But the Ao Kuang, is it okay right now? What kind of spot is it in? Because, we talked about competitive, and I know something you guys even talked about as recently as last night on Animosity was there's no pro scene right now. The competitive meta is being set by competitors for once at this amateur to, a slight step up level. So is Ao Kuang seeing a lot of play, or is this just a particular instance where they said, hey, this works here?
Have I seen a lot of him? No. Do I feel like for any particular reason with the recent, item changes, nerfs, that he's bad? No, not at all. I think Ao Kuang's very viable. I think you've got to respect your phase of the game when you're fighting with him. That said,
Good answer for Nike.
Yeah, any god that's going to have an execute like that, you can definitely get value out of it, really, no matter where it is in the meta. What I'm struggling with this sometimes on time draft, how do you secure your objectives here? Now, Bologna and Ao Kuang, if anything can jump into a backline and kill that Hachi or Vulcan, that's it. You've got a great dive on them, but if this Zing manages to screw that dive up and do what he's supposed to, these objective fights are going to be very difficult for sometimes on time.
I would say borderline impossible if you aren't able to burn it with double hunters late game, just because if the Vulcan's around, you can no longer do it. Of course, if Earthshaker's down, a little bit different, but even then, honestly, it still feels like a risk, because the backfire and the meatball, they're going to do so much damage, comparatively speaking, in that burst for steal potential, that I just can't see how you take the risk. Well, But to see how these risks do work out, we are ready to head into game number 1 between Andvari's Greed and Sometimes on Time. Again, this is a Jotunheim division. And Zetan, I feel like going in comp-wise, we both share the same opinion that Andvari's Greed has a huge advantage going into this game, at least on paper.
And Andvari's Greed has a huge advantage going into this game if they play it right. You know, you are still dealing with 2 hunters. You are dealing with a lot of burst damage coming out of that Ao Kuang, coming out of the Bologna. So, you know, it's like I said on the desk. If Zing does what he is supposed to and is able to peel for this backline, yeah, Andvari's Greed are in a great spot.
One thing I was incorrect about is the Izanami will be the ADC, Chernobog to mid. I expected Chernobog to be ADC just with the current state of builds, but not the case here. And Zing Shin taking a lot of damage, now plucked back. Izanami ready to go for the war, gonna chase him back to their own tower. Minions are confused too. Zing Shin just trying to figure out where to go, why the chase is still on. Ao Kuang rotating over, so should be dead regardless. The pluck back to the tower. Not in time, turns into a horrific from the blue side. Almost brings down the Izanami, but Ao Kuang's here to take down those stakes, and Pugsley will find the first blood. Should be able to find a second on a cookie named Joe. It's the TP. There it is. Double kill for Pugsley early on. What, my goodness, what a first couple of kills for Sometimes on Time. They almost threw one away and lost the Izanami, but ultimately it works out.
Yeah, so, you know, we were talking about this Andvari's Greed having an advantage here, but 2 kills headed into the pocket of an Ao Kuang 2 minutes into the game, that's rough.
Might have a third as well, which you cannot afford. Gets the auto. 3 kills already for Pugsley. That is dangerous. To be on an Ao Kuang, 3 kills. 2 kills is one thing, but 3 this early? Absurdity, and still fairly healthy, so farm going to be online, going to be sprinting to that level 5, which you have to assume will equal ganks elsewhere. A great spot to be in if you're Sometimes on Time.
Yeah, you know, I feel like he heard me there. I had just got the words out of my mouth that he had 2 in his pocket, and he was like, all right, what's this? Ao Kuang is a god that feels terrible from behind and feels unstoppable from ahead. So I'm going to look to see him try and push this pressure that he's got now, because 3 kills, that's huge.
Especially if you can actually turn it into an advantage. Too often, especially in lower divisions, we see junglers get big leads, but be significantly out-farmed. So they have the kills, but in terms of actual farm, they fall behind, so we'll see if Ao Kuang will make good use of it here. Bologna playing very far up without ultimate, notably so. The casual one, not going to be able to take advantage, though. We'll have to step back. Meanwhile, duo lane, Chaos there as well. Horrific Emblem going to come out. Izanami very low, but able to get away with the invis. Now pluck off the mark, so Green Dragon will also be safe. So despite how low everyone got, everyone's still breathing.
Yeah, you know, that's the name of the game. As long as you're still breathing, doesn't matter what your health bar was at, it wasn't even close, you're fine. Okay.
Bang!
Vulcan using the Earthshaker to clear up that mid wave, which, I mean, fair enough.
Those
You know,
3
you've already
archers would have
got-
made it a tower, and that's a lot. I mean, that's what, like 85 gold?
Just want to say they're like 15 or 16 apiece. You know, you've already got 10% cooldown coming out of the Sands of Time. That ult's not on a wild cooldown to begin with. That's
0 stress
It'll
there.
be back up before he needs it.
All right, let's try to figure out where we're at, because we're already looking at Chaos, which, you know, we were talking about off air, just being Jotunheim, being the nature of these kinds of divisions, you get a lot of fighting. And 3 already for the Ao Kuang. Andvari's Greed, one easy way that you could see to get yourselves back in the game is, all right, Ratatasker, where are we sending you through the Cosmos to go do your own thing, to get back some of what that Ao Kuang has taken away? Casual one going to be forced to use Sentinel of Zeus there, because Eagle's Rally is still available, and they were taking a lot of damage.
Yeah, no matter what you do, man, that Bologna is tough to fight into. She has so much pressure, so much damage. You know, Andvari's Greed, maybe getting ganked.
Ao Kwang just kind of, or not Ao Kwang, pardon me, but Chernobog just kind of lurking. Ao Kwang was also nearby, so almost a 4-man cringe gank, some might even call it, to duo, but not going to be the case. Instead, just going to back up and take things easy. That is an ultimate down for Bathwater, so Gear Chief will get some needed farm in that mid lane to extend the lead and or catch up to the lead that was being extended by the Chernobog. About a half a level there in the mid lane of Vulcan to Chernobog, which should be all right if you are the Vulcan. You have to assume that just given the nature of the turret and how this lane will play out, the Chernobog rotating around, any lead will only be temporary. Ooh, a gank in solo lane. Radtasker looking for Bologna. Bologna almost able to kill Nike around it. Everything's off the mark, though, and it's buying time for the Ao Kwang to get over here. Meanwhile, Bologna will actually manage to get the kill to the casual one. So big pickup for Bologna despite the gank. Didn't even need the help of Ao Kwang there, and just doesn't work out for Sniper Glenn.
Yeah, you kind of got blown it there. Oh dear.
Mike, it is Izanami here, and that will be the case. Dream Dragon gonna fall down to the Izanami. Cookie named Joe may suffer a similar fate, does not have the ultimate online. The pluck will hit a ghost, but thankfully Cookie named Joe's still there for the Sobek, so no harm, no foul. The Izanami can just hit these basics, but the wall's in the way now. Cookie named Joe just buying time, dashes in, goes down. Wolven will have a kill there.
Yeah, unfortunate for Joe there. Without the use of that mounted archery in that situation, you're just kind of dead. One thing Andvari's Greed really need to do here, they should not be looking to fight this draft of sometimes on time. They have drafted pressure out the wazoo. They've got the burn, they've got the fight. Your strength here is in this mid to late game. You've got the advantage on the objectives. You just need to make sure that you don't get steamrolled before you get there.
And honestly speaking, coming up to 7 minutes, 6 kills, but not over a 5,000 gold lead, favoring sometimes on time, sitting under 3K. The 4,000 experience is a problem, but it could be worse than it actually is.
Yeah, I mean, in reality, even with this double ADC comp, Gear Chief on this Vulcan with that Earthshaker, even if sometimes on time pull that Gold Fury or this Pyro when it comes up, there's
So
still a good
Chernobog's going
chance.
the duo. Oh, but a nice ultimate there from Green Dragon to maybe keep Cookie Named Joe safe. Bede's going to be a bit early, so no ultimate drawn out there from Pugsley, but it did help Cookie Named Joe survive. It bought some time potentially and stopped any slow, so an escape there for the Hachiman, and another huge commitment from sometimes on time to the duo lane. You have to hope, if you're rooting for Andvari's Greed, that Sniper Glenn can turn this into some farm stolen, maybe even some pressure solo, because it's the second time now we've seen 4 people go duo. Instead, could be trouble for Gear Chief, gonna have to use that knock-up for safety, has backfire online as well. So we'll be okay, but this continued pressure, Ztan, cannot be a thing of the future if Andvari's Greed want to come back in this game.
Yeah, I mean, you have to stop the bleeding here somehow. They're putting 4 men in the left lane. All right, let's invade the right side. Wherever they're at, we're not. We're not looking to fight. Get out of there.
Well, the Eagles rally is certainly looking to fight. They want the blue buff, but not going to find it. They both have to escape under the tower. That will cost them the blue buff as well as the Sentinel of Zeus. Sometimes on time, just making things work. The Eagles rally wasn't even used. I even misspoke there. I expected it to be used from TFC, but not even needed. They probably could have gone for kills there, which tells me sometimes on time knows how to play with this lead and make the small leads into medium leads, and now make their medium lead into a big one, looking at a gigantic and early, if not getting worrisome, for an insurmountable lead.
Yeah, I mean, 3,500 gold. We're 9 minutes in. You're approaching about a tier of an item maybe over your opponents. It's not insurmountable yet, but you're approaching the point where it can get that way fast. I'm expecting sometimes on time with the amount of picks they're getting, with the amount of invades they're getting, with the pressure they've got, I'm expecting to see them try and pull this Gold Fury at some point soon.
I would like to see it as well. That's the one thing that could probably make their gold lead scale to that insurmountable point we're talking about, because no objectives so far, which is probably the best thing going for Andvari's Greed. Just the micro around the map being completely swallowed up, and a lack of response for the most part. I will say, Sniper Glenn keeping up a bit in levels is good, because it's difficult to do when Yao Kuang's got the 3 kills, but they did come early, and the assist was more recent. It's overall working out. I guess I'm just wondering if there's more to be had and opportunities missing. Gear Chief, a needed opportunity there to ult for safety. Will escape, now Cookie Named Joe in trouble in duo. So it's just across the map right now for Andvari's Greed, just getting no breathing room, no relaxation whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, you just watch the Earthshaker go down. You just watch Hachi commit his ult. If I'm sometimes on time here, I just made a call for gold.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. Honestly, you said it before, Z10. We're getting close to 11 minutes. I've been kind of I don't like to harp on things and be too obvious, but I've been wondering why they haven't gone for it. Cookie Named Joe gets the stun with the minion disadvantage. We'll just back off. Ao Kuang also lurking and no ultimate online for that Hachimon. If the Ao Kuang were to rotate, not going to go for it. Actually going to turn around. Maybe a chance for the Rat, who might be looking to ult. There it is, looking for that Izanami on the landing. Will catch, not going to catch the dash because of the beads. They got to retreat. Chernobog is on the way. Once again, 4 red members in that duo lane, making it impossible to get anything.
Yeah, and you can't match if you're Vulcan here, you can't match that Chernobog's rotation. There's no way to do it. It's just not going to happen. Gear Chief got that last bastion down, got some more tower pressure, and the thing about the objectives that we're harping on here is that, like, the longer that sometimes on time continue this brawl without pushing for any of these objectives, you're kind of getting empty kills. Smite has a lot of catch-up mechanics. There's a lot of things designed to stop you from maintaining a lead without pushing for objectives, and they may fall victim to that here.
Cookie Named Joe gets caught in the pluck, back to the silence. What a great combo, still alive, and will get caught. Wolven with a great play. It'll be an ult under tower, could be trouble, horrific too. Green Dragon gonna bring down Wolven in response, so actually a nice return trade there, and for way less effort than what sometimes on time needed to do.
Oh my. Well, that is a way to keep them off of that beacon pad.
It was a man mode Earthshaker.
It accomplished the goal. You got him off of it, but now you need to get out of there.
You do indeed. Gear Chief already down below half health, but wants to commit onto the Zhao Kuang, who's able to get the water illusion off, but it doesn't even matter. The casual one was still ready to bring down Pugsley. That's a lot of gold in pocket too. Has been sitting on that killing spree shutdown bonus for a while. Stygian Beacon will go to Andvari's Greed, but on top of the kill there, things are starting to turn around. And, for all the praise we were giving sometimes on time, Z-Tan, if you look at those charts, that lead, they did not do enough with how crazy it was getting, and it's starting to normalize out now.
Yeah, it's like I was just talking about. There's a lot of catch-up mechanics in Smite now. And, not playing the objectives will come back to haunt you sooner rather than later.
Bologna just ready to take on the world for that blue buff, but will not be able to steal it. Casual one will secure it. Cookie Named Joe taking a lot of damage there from the Izanami, who has been getting the better of Cookie Named Joe in lane so far pretty significantly when there hasn't been a lot of help over there. So big pickup for Izanami, although the comment will be gone in a flash. Now the ult, the dash in, looking for the kill. The dash from Cookie Named Joe is good. If that hits, it's trouble. Is able to get away with the mounted archery. Now Ao Kuang with the blink and the dash, gets caught in the Aegis, but still has the dragons. Can the Rat return it? Blink. The acorns, the spin, down goes Wolven. The jungles take out the ADCs.
Great follow-up rotation from Sniper Glenn there. He is now caught up with this Ao Kuang. and Andvari's Greed are finally getting some picks here. Izzy is outboxing Hachi right now because Izzy can hit through the wave. And I really feel like that's just kind of the extent of it. Hachi's going to get outboxed in lane here, but he's still going to do what Hachi does in the lane.
Eagles rally, Montegear Chief, the shield for the kill. Whirlwind of Rage and Steel will bring 2 away, but you're still in execute range. That's going to be another kill going away of sometimes on time. They've got 2 already in this fight. Casual One was looking to do some kind of cleanup duty, but no options available. The Rat will look for the same thing, but way overplays their hand and should and will go down to Bathwater for sale. That makes the total kill feed 11-3 now, favoring sometimes on time. They're looking at a Pyromancer.
Yeah, and with the Vulcan down, the only one that can potentially contest is Nike, so we'll see.
Was that stolen away?
Yes, yes, it was.
I can't believe Casual got away with that. Just walks up casually, says, "No, that's mine."
So,
if there's one person who could do it, Z, who could keep Andvari's Greed in this game, it would be this Nike. Just because of what we've seen so far, because everyone else has been either quiet or a non-issue for sometimes on time.
the funny thing about the way these secures for these objectives work is like this double hunter comp burns them very quickly. And obviously Earthshaker out secures them, every time. However, when your best secure is a basic attack, the rend from that Nike has as good a chance to get it as anything that's standing there.
Bathwater is in a lot of trouble here. Earthshaker will hit. That's a dead Turnabog. In the pocket of the Vulcan. Mounted archery, well timed, avoided the pluck in dual lane. Now Rat back in mid, looking to slam down on the Ao Kuang. Can't find it yet, will dash forward anyway, find the stun. Now Washing Machine grabs the Ao Kuang, throws him back further away to the arms of Vulcan, still alive. Will eventually die. Probably live longer than we would have expected, but still a big pickup for Andvari's Greed. They're up to 5 kills now, and the gold lead down to 800? That would have been unthinkable 10 minutes ago.
It would be, and they now have the option to go for this gold here. The other thing I didn't touch on about Vulcan is this turret, and I guess Gear Chief's trying to zone here.
The Vulcan zoning. You don't have Earthshaker available for the secure. Gold Fury down to a quarter. Bathwater here now. Andvari's Greed looking to get off of it. A pluck back onto the Vulcan. Should be a dead Vulcan. It's also a dead Jingtin. That's 2 kills for sometimes on time. And that Gold Fury had to be let go. Casual One got aggressive after the fact, but will just have to run away. Actually, Gold Fury got dropped. I didn't even see that die on the screen. And sometimes on time, we're able to take it away. Andvari's Greed. I mean, we were just giving praise seconds ago about the comeback, how the lead wasn't that impactful, but you're giving it all away again. Look at the gold swing. The chart did a kickflip.
That was just a classic case of what I assume to be mixed up comms in a team chat. I am sure that the minute that engage happened, someone on Andvari's Greed said drop it, someone said burn it, and there was just chaos. That was all over the place, and with their advantage in this game being the capability to take these objectives, they are gonna have to clean that up.
You have to. You made such a point. I mean, I wrote it down in the notebook, so it has to be real that Andvari's Greed win this game by secure. And if that's not going to be your strength, if you're going to allow those things to go away and allow it clumsy, I mean, that's the kind of stuff you can easily fix in theory that you have to fix in reality.
Yeah, you absolutely have to. You saw the Vulcan there at the top of that Gold Fury zoning, which in the first place, Vulcan's DPS on that turret, the meatball, the backfire for the secure there without the Earthshaker up, it was necessary. You needed him there, not zoning. So, but the minute that their team shows up, speaking of...
Yeah, showing up in big time here. Can Pugsley get away? A nice reposition, but runs into the casual one, and the Rend actually third hit off the mark. Sentinel of Zeus will be required to get the kill. So far, both junglers have traded out for each team, so a 4-on-4 with Bologna TPing to the mid lane. And Andvari's Greed taking some damage. Will need to back up. No interest. Earthshaker going to be short off the mark from the Pyro. Now a backfire. That's off too. A Whirlwind will find two, but it had to be used to secure safety for Gear Chief. But where's the safety when an Eagles rally lands on your head and a Sobek brings you down? That's a kill for Grey Polar Bear. Now a mounted archery to escape, and Andvari's Greed just can make nothing work. Casual one will try to put this fight on their back, but with Sentinel of Zeus down, not tanky enough to survive. Gets plucked, does get the jump across, will be chased down by the Izanami and brought down by the same person. Xingqian dashed over the wall, will need to run away from that fact too, because sometimes on time, they're looking at a tier 2 tower here, and they do not look like they can be stopped. Despite the best efforts of Andvari's Greed, these fights just look clumsy at best. And if a big part of it, Zetan, is the damage has been lacking. Damage through the Cosmos might be able to find on the landing, on the Bologna. Only level 16 though, so this could turn bad in a hurry. The Bludgeon has the bonus from 2. Sniper has to get out of there. Green Dragon 2, but Izanami on the chase will hit the slow. This could be a dead support. It is a killing spree for the Izanami.
Oh, she gets it. Stop trickling in there, guys.
Jeez,
Pull off.
goodness gracious.
Come on. Get out of there.
It's like the Assassin's Creed guards going in one at a time.
Yeah, Ezio just killed 35 dudes, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna keep this a one-on-one.
we send another
fine.
back in, yeah. Gear Chief lurking, doesn't have
Oh.
Earthshaker online, but it's half health. Meatball just to test the waters. Might be too fiery. Backfire already down. We'll have Meatball up in time, but we'll get knocked away before it can be used. And sometimes on time, we'll get the Fire Giant, and why not get the spicy Italian chef as well. Down may go Gear Chief. It's an Aegis for good luck, but Wolven still sends him packing.
Yeah, we talked about this at the very beginning of the game. Where advantages lay with these comps, and I said that Andvari's Greed had an advantage conditionally, providing that they play this correctly. And they're choosing here to engage in fights with a team that is designed to kill them.
Yep.
They need to play these fights slower. They need to play the poke game. You have a Vulcan. You have a Nike. You can poke at range. Sometimes on time does not have any type of artillery mage or any real long-range threat. They need to draw these fights out more than they're doing.
Do you think that's a part of a kind of a victim of circumstance and having characters like a Nike and a Rattusker that you just want to dive with? I mean, maybe that's the case. We'll see if they go for the retreat here, try to draw out the fight here. Hachiman's in duo dealing with Chernobog, no Hachi for this fight. Gear Chief also frontlining again, needs to get back to the safety of those frontliners. Casual one will try to help out the Hachiman, but that's a go sign for sometimes on time to take the fight that was towards the right. A cookie named Joe and Gear Chief actually managed to pull 2 kills out of a hat, but the Izanami ready to take on 2 in the 1v2, and Grey Polar Bear was there, but my goodness, the Izanami's doing the damage. A double kill for Wolven. That takes all the momentum gained from those other 2 kills Andvari's got. Make it a third, potentially. Grey Polar Bear gets it now for the backup. That's 3 gone for Andvari's Greed. Look where Gear Chief is now, stuck with nowhere to go in no man's land. The pluck going to be off the mark, but it will not matter. Unstoppable now is that Izanami, and unbeatable potentially is sometimes on time.
That they started it so well. They started that fight so well. They did exactly what we were talking about. They drew the fight out a little more. They used some of that poke damage. They got a couple of kills. And then they went right back to running at them. You've got to clean it up.
And the split fight getting kills, by the way, does show that there is not just mechanical skill, but there's damage online. Because otherwise, there's no way you get those couple of kills. So there's something there that can work.
Yeah, it's a sign of life, and that's kind of what we've been looking for here. The biggest obstacle to Andvari's greed right now is the level disparity on this Zing Tien. He cannot tank. He is level 15, and these dual carries are doing wild amounts of damage to Zing Tien. He can't get in there for as long as he needs to.
And it's, hey, it's an Earthshaker.
Ooh.
That was close. But unfortunately, not close enough. Vari's Greed, they're fighting. They're on the ropes, but they continue to fight. But as Z-Tan said, like, you can't get tanky enough. You can't do enough damage. Even when you do, it falls apart because you were split. It just feels like nothing's working. We're 25 minutes in. It's 8-22. The gold lead is at the point where I like to not talk about it. You can look at it yourself. I won't say it out loud for the favor of the order side. And I
A
do
fair
think
bit.
there's still a fighting chance. Because you have your Phoenixes up. You're still buying a lot of time. EFG has not been available yet. That's still 5 minutes away. But you gotta survive this next siege. And you can't split again. I guess that's my big thing. That's my takeaway. No more splitting. Fight is 5. Because if you can win the 2 on 4s, you should, in theory, do good in the
Surely.
5v5.
Absolutely.
Jinghen trying to body block the Sobek. He was just walking on through, looking for a pluck. Will find it, but they step back. An Earthshaker for space, but an Eagles Rally eliminates that space, and Gear Chief might go down, but such good peel there from Green Dragon to save the Vulcan, and an even better land down from the Ratatasker. Now it's Nike at the front line. St. Shem will get the Nike out of there in time, but is now in execute range, so that's a 1-for-1 trade as Gear Chief was able to bring down the Bologna. So 4 on 4 at the Phoenix line, and sometimes on time, are having to back up a bit. So Andvari's Greed continue to keep that sliver of hope alive, but they just need more. Sobek, looking for another pluck, does get knocked away for the meatball. Now it's a retreat called from sometimes on time.
Well, and that's what you're getting with this Vulcan versus another hunter. Uh, it's like I said earlier, sometimes on time don't have anything to match the long range AoE damage. And so we're seeing it in these Phoenix fights. Vulcan is able to just keep them out. They can't really get in on it.
Almost
Now,
30k damage.
absolutely. And what I'm looking for here, we saw Vulcan launch that Earthshaker over towards the Pyro a few minutes ago. He was level 18. It still did like 1200 damage to that
Yeah.
outlaw. So he's at 20. If he can get these items online,
Hang on, this might be a close fire, John. It's down to a quarter health, and Nike is right by it. Will get in, but sometimes on time are able to pull it away despite the best efforts of the Nike. An Earthshaker does big old damage, and a Rat's in the sky too, but can you make it all work together? Will the puzzle pieces fit? So far, no. Matter of fact, the Jing Tin almost died, but just got knocked up, will die on landing the Pugsley. That's one gone for Andvari's Greed. Gear Chief will be soon to follow the backfire into the auto from Bath Water. Andvari's Greed just have to get out of dodge now if they can even do that. Sometimes on time are grouped up as 4 in the mid lane. Izanami pushing up solo, but might need to book it to end the game because it's just 2 left standing to defend. A Pyro Bomb goes down, the mid Phoenix will fall, and sometimes on time are stepping into the throne room, and Izanami is at the tier 2 tower in solo. Will this matter on this defense, or is it too late? Ratatasker and Nike step up. Titan's still fairly healthy, but a big plug back onto the router. Gets a dash into the fountain to survive in the meantime. Sobek down low. Nike looks for it, can't find it. Rat healed up, comes back, looking at that Sobek, can't find it. Nike can't defend long enough either. The Titan goes down. Sometimes on time. Take game number 1.
man.
It's a tough one to look at that and say what truly fixes it. What was the biggest issues, right? Because I don't want to say there's a million things because that's not entirely true. It just felt like there was a million idiosyncrasies that were just not clicking.
Usually when I go to break down the after game, 8, 9 times out of 10, I've got some god that I'm gonna say, get rid of that, or you know, eh, play this, do something differently. The comp was not the problem there.
They should have had the better comp on paper. We were harping on that a ton. Going into the game, I said pretty proud and confidently I expected Andvari's Greed to take it.
Andvari's Greed did not have an issue with their comp. Andvari's Greed had an issue with their comms and their fights. They were separated, they were sloppy, and they paid for it. Now, the good news about this is something you can fix. And not only is it something you can fix, it's something you can fix on the fly. This is not something you've got to work on for a few weeks.
Right.
You know, clean up your comms and fight them together. Play as a team. That's all you got to do. Great game from Sometimes on Time there. They did exactly what they wanted.
Well, they did exactly what they had time for. But here's the thing. You gotta, like you said, you can still make the dream work. You just gotta take the time to do it, take the time to reset, and hope that the teamwork will pull through and make those dreams a reality. Otherwise, you're looking at a swift 2-0. We're gonna go to a quick break here with Sometimes on Time up. They tip game one. Don't go anywhere on Animosity. Hello, I missed you. Welcome on back. I hope you had a nice break. Hope snacks are good, drink is refilled. We've got more gaming to do. It's game number 2 between Andvari's Greed and Sometimes on Time here in the Jotunheim division. On Animosity Smite, my name is still Anthony Mel. I'm still joined by Ztan with Soul Slaw, still pushing buttons behind a screen, and we've got more Smite. And in game number 1, Sometimes on Time just had everything clicking except the draft, which didn't matter. So here in game 2, we need some changes if you are an Andvari's Greed fan, Ztan. What are we looking for off the rip?
It's like I said at the end of that last game. I do not feel that the team composition was the issue. There were a lot of really good plays that they made. There just weren't enough of them in a row. We saw the Vulcan and stuff like that do really well in some of the fights. I'm looking more for them to kind of clean up the mentals, clean up the comms. I think you could more or less run that draft back.
Another
just gotta
Santos
clean it
ban, too. I just wanted to point that out because for me, that's a hard target ban, and the Ao Kuang looked great. Or excuse me, the Radtasker looked great, but the Ao Kuang was doing great, so execute seemed to be a theme on Sometimes in Time and just how they want to control the game. They like either controlling the executes or getting rid of them. I mean, are you putting that big of an emphasis on it this game? Could we be seeing maybe an Achilles come out? Because it's a great god right now. Clearly, both teams have some kind of interest in those executes and what they bring. The Nike was the one problematic piece that Andvari's Greed were bringing to the team fights. Achilles could be a decent fit.
Right.
I will win peace
Right,
by
and
force.
we talked about it a little bit on the game 1 desk, but like part of what that execute brings to the table is that you no longer have to get some of these more menacing frontliners to absolute zero. You can get them close.
Tremble beneath the waves.
Any of these gods like Nike, any of these really beefy guys that are going to be running in, that's absolutely an option. And Achilles is strong right now. I mean, we don't hear as much about him because of the prevalence and the focus put on like Bellona and Osiris,
Sure.
but he's good.
Yamoja is the first lock-in for Sometimes on Time. That's a character I feel like I have not seen in a while, but a character who feels like she doesn't lose her value very often, if ever. And I honestly kind of miss seeing. And when combined with a Rama, is it giving Season 9? Sure. Does that probably work? I would feel pretty confident in saying yes. And all right, this has been a fascinating picks and bans, because now we're seeing a Scylla come through as the second pick. You could have you probably could have saved the Scylla.
You absolutely could, but I will not hear any slander against my
Okay, I'm not even going to slander it, but my question becomes then, if you can save it, what is the actual purpose behind picking it second? Was there nothing else you wanted there? I mean, you get the Thor, which is a character we're seeing banned and picked a lot. Sure, it seems Sniper Glenn has a huge emphasis on their semi-global to global ultimates, being able to move around the map. But did you not want to grab a strong
Face the
support
crushing
there?
silence.
Grab your solo there? And now a set's coming. I'm throwing my pen. I'm closing the notebook.
So, picking the Scylla second, there are times when, as a jungle, as a support, as a solo, you really want to see more of the enemy team composition before you make a pick. And in those scenarios, if you have a pick out of your mid or your carry, like Scylla, that, okay, you can say that a Wheelish is a counter to Scylla, but, that requires some pretty spectacular timing on the Wheelish's part to actually pull her out of her 3. You can take that pick there because there's really not much that just, like, counters Scylla. It's a safe pick to take that high in the draft.
Now the Hebo hover.
Ayo?
This is from Season 9. I mean, they loaded it on a different patch. I like it. Hebo did see some changes in the most recent patch, but in my mind, it wouldn't be anything significant enough to warrant a pick. I was kind of underwhelmed by the Hebo changes. I felt like they were pretty safe from high-res, but I respect the pick just like I respect the Scylla pick because there is always that age-old discussion, and I know it's something that's actually been picking up a lot on my Twitter recently of comfort over meta. If you are comfortable and good at a character, well, my gosh, play him. You're probably going to do better than if you're okay at a meta character.
Yeah, and especially in the case of things like Scylla, Habois, Habois was not performing terribly. He just wasn't being played as much. Scylla performs well, but she's not been picked over things like Cuckoo and Toth, which, by the way,
Yeah,
I have not seen Toth banned.
or Cuckoo. Oh,
And
Cuckoo
he's
got
not
banned. Excuse
getting
me.
no
Pardon me.
Cuckoo did get the axe, but like I guess I'm left to assume that neither of these mids play Toth. What? How I wish I could be in that. I hate that god.
The Geb locked in for Andvari's Greed, which Geb is always a great pick to grab with the Scylla in my mind because I feel like Scylla early gets benefited a lot from having a Geb. You have a tough early game, add a shield. I might not be that, genius with analytics, but that kind of feels like a simple 1+2=3 type of thing.
Yeah, I mean Geb is a solid support, and as well, anytime that you're in a meta where crit has any form of prevalence, whether it be out of jungle, out of carry,
Sure.
Geb is just a very solid all-around pick. He's got good mobility, he's got the shield, he has a knock-up, he has a stun and health damage. Like, it's a great pick. To be honest,
Here? What is happening? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
well, I kind of paused myself when I saw the tier hover.
I mean, I like all the picks. I don't want to sound like I'm hating on any of them. I
I
haven't seen any of them in so long.
The law returns to this land.
I don't hate the tier pick here. Honestly, there's only one pick that is on the board right now that I don't like. Can you guess which one it is?
Go ahead. Hit
It's
me.
the set.
Ah, why am I surprised?
I do not like the set. I love set. Please do not get me twisted. But, in this meta where horrific, Bellona, Osiris, all of these things are so prevalent in the meta, all of the hard CC, I'm not going to say you can't play set, but it is exponentially more difficult to do so.
What would you? How can they make it work then? Because it's easy to say I don't like it here. I don't like what it performs. What can you do to make it work in this scenario? Because you do have a tier who's inevitably going to also be diving alongside that set. The Fearless can definitely set up. You've got the Emoja, who can give you a nice area lockdown for the set to do set things in. Are those the things we can look to see, or is there some other secret sauce that sometimes on time might look to utilize?
Well, I'm almost expecting this set to go mid. I feel like set has
I'm
a
on
better
board with
time
that.
in lane than a Habois. I just with a Scylla, a Hachi, with a Geb sitting behind them, the CC that Hachi, Scylla, Thor, Geb all have, I struggle to see set having a good time trying to get into that backline.
Well, let's see what lane he's in. Let's head into game number 2 between Andvari's Greed and Sometimes on Time and get the answers to our burning questions. Now, the biggest things I'll be looking for personally that I'm curious if you're on board with is just this Scylla early game. Gear Chief was a late bloomer in game number 1 in the Vulcan. It definitely did come around and help out Andvari's Greed. And we touched on how important that Vulcan was to objectives and so on and so forth. And unfortunately, aside from a couple of strong team fights, a lot of it was falling short. Scylla brings the same thing, but even slower of a build-up. So for me, it's the character to watch.
Yeah, I mean, your most dangerous phase of the game on Scylla is going to be up until level 6, 7. Once you've got 3 to 4 points in that crush, your clear becomes good. You can farm well. You know, you've got the movement. She's just gonna have to watch it there.
A lot of pressure for sometimes on time. Definitely on time to the invade. Green Dragon took a lot of poke for it, but not wanting to overcommit, just going for the farm. They'll take the poke advantage they received and head over to lane. Andvari's Greed are going to be in a tough spot for it, but Geb's still not afraid to step up. We'll have to see how much that matters for Green Dragon. We all remember the action we saw in Game 1 in this duo lane, so it could be more of the same here, especially with sometimes on time getting the advantage with the minions. Mid lane, Kirchief already in trouble too. It's just more of the same thing, Zetan. More of the same ganks. Thor looking at that dual lane, but actually not going to hard commit yet. They're not stepped up far enough. No ward coverage to know, except for the one for Andvari's Greed. Gear Chief in mid in trouble, looking for the escape. Does not have the Sentinel. Took the wrong stuff, pal. That's going to be a first blood for sometimes on time. Going to Pugsley yet again. Now Thor going for the gank onto the Yemoja. There's a knock-up with the wall, but the Riptide is so good to help that Yemoja get enough spacing to relax. No kill in duo.
There very nearly was, and very well, you know, could be. These are aggressive laners. Hachi, Rama. Rama obviously with a little better clear, but both with great potential for kills in these lanes. Second only really to like on her. Scylla going down is tough. You know, well,
A lot of trades coming out in duo yet again. Green Dragon almost in trouble, but trying to get some pair of backsteps out there. A couple autos missed. Now Gear Chief in trouble again in the mid lane. The knockup's off the mark. That's 2 tower hits. Now the minions body block too. But somehow Pugsley's able to get out of there. That was so unlucky, and yet he still gets away. If I'm Pugsley, it's lottery ticket time.
yeah, you know, it seemed like between the minions body blocking everything else that like the gods themselves came down and were like, Pablo dies here. And I don't know why he's still up and walking. You know, great job, I guess.
Ooh, gotta be careful if you are tier there in solo. The Thor is not close enough for a gank. I was gonna say maybe potentially on the way. I would love to see more pressure on solo from either of these teams. Just been hardly any interest. We only saw 2 ganks in game number 1, and it's only 3 minutes in here in game 2, but this feels like a missed opportunity. Whew. Playing risky there. Not as risky as Dream Dragon. Gonna get dropped in duo. 2 kills now for sometimes on time. That one goes to the Yemoja.
Yeah, unfortunate in this early game here so far. You know, you mentioned putting some pressure on solo, and with this team composition from sometimes on time with the Habwa, you have that option. You know, a big reason you don't gank these massive solo laners is because one, they're massive. They're usually building some kind of physical defense. They're hard to kill. It can be a waste of time. Habwa doesn't have that problem. So we could look to see Habwa come to help this tier. I mean, it's still a Wukong.
Still is indeed. We'll see if it ends up being the case. Pugsley, surrounded by 3 members, doesn't care. Links through and finds Gear Chief for the easy pick'ems. 2 kills now for that Ebo jungle. But can you get away? Yep, you can do that too. Thanks to the help from Grey Polar Bear. Wow, what a... Okay, I respect it. Meanwhile, solo lane, solo bolo. Casual one gonna find the kill on the tier. It happened later than we anticipated, but it happened.
It did happen. It did indeed happen. And, you know, Wukong taking that kill there, it's, you know, you'd rather not have lost Scylla twice, Geb once, but, like, you at least have something. You've got some gold going back into the coffers. You know, the lead is not that wild yet. Sitting around 1500 with even less in the XP department.
Much better than game 1.
Uh, Absolutely. You know, it was already a good bit worse than this in game 1. Uh, you know, especially with this Scylla on your team, you're waiting for that 15-20 minute mark, 3 or 4 items. She's going to already get that extra penetration on the crush. I'm a monster. You know, you're not looking to shine in this early game.
Not at all. Then, you know, one thing too we got to keep looking at, Z, is for this Scylla, not looking to shine in late, or excuse me, not looking to shine early, looking to shine in that late game is kind of that mid game. What happens then? What are the calls for rotations? We didn't see a Gold Fury for a very long time in game number 1. And it felt like sometimes on time was definitely not on time to making the call for those objectives. So perhaps that's where Andvari's Greed can find it. Take the risks, make the early calls for objectives, and utilize having that Scylla. Because the only real contest we're going to see would be the Rama snipes and some of what Hebo brings. But we all understand and we've all seen how Hebos play. They don't really play for those opportunities. They play for things like that. Just an easy pop in mid. A Gear Chief going to be gone. 3 kills for Pugsley, and history repeats, I guess.
Yeah, you know, the trick with the Habwa jungle is like he goes in, he does a lot of damage and gets a kill or, you know, puts people low and he dies. The Andvari's Greed are kind of missing half of this equation here. He's only going in and getting kills. They're gonna have to punish him for this sooner or later.
But who does that? I guess is the burning question. For Tyr, it's just a matter of survival against the casual one, dropping very low, not in full danger of being dropped just yet. Still has that ultimate online, steps back up, not afraid, gets fearless offense and good damage. That's why you're not afraid if you're the Tyr. But the Thor could definitely be responding a lot more to this Hebo and has been keeping up for the most part in farm. Player damage, notably, non-existent so far for Sniper Glyn. We did see the attempted gank very early on in duo, but since then it's been a non-appearance, non-factor, just a mystery. There's the landing, followed up by the ultimate. Not gonna find it. Takes the teleport far, turns around, is able to find it with the spin to win. Now they'll look at Pugsley instead. But Pugsley is hunting down this Scylla, who's playing around the Sentinel to come up. Now Pugsley wasting a lot of time, stuck between two, gets stuck in the crush, gets the crushing wave out of it, gets the knock up, needs the water cannon too, can't find it. Now Rama snipes, will that find it? Yes, it will. Double kill for the Rama, making it happen, triple kill. Sometimes on time, get the rotation of a lifetime and make it work big time.
Can you say it one more time?
Hopefully we don't say the kill for Tyr. The stun gonna hit, and that's gonna be another solo bolo.
Well, you know, now my opinion has kind of changed. Thor might want to maybe look to kind of play out of this solo lane because that is really the only spot that you're in a good position right now. You know, the XP deficit has now outgrown the gold deficit, and that can make these fights really tough. You know, Wukong may need to come kind of throw some of this weight around, and soon.
I would agree with that. It's a good answer for the Hebo as well. Can definitely counter-engage on the Hebo, can really cause a tough time there. Can keep up, notably, which is something a lot of characters have a tough time doing, because that scroll, while not the most, you know, sensible, understandable escape, I'm trying to think of the right word. It's more unique, but it does work effectively. We see a lot of times characters like Fenrir are picked, but in my mind, Sun Wukong is somebody who can keep up using that bird form and the transformations to get to him, so I'm on board, rotate over, but right now getting actually pressured out despite having had that solo and doesn't have TP online. So it might be a while until we get that rotation you're asking for. Coming up here on 10 minutes, see, it's 3-7. The gold lead, not as crazy as game one. We said that a couple of times, but still significant in of itself, 2,000. Cookie named Joe taking a lot of damage from this Rama in their exchange. And with 3 kills now on that Rama, you don't want to overstep.
No, and you know, in this boxing match here, oh no.
Gotta be dead. Oh, wow! The Somersault Cloud comes out just in time. Couple tower shots hit, but no mana for that Sun Wukong. Geb might be feeling more interested than even the Sun Wukong would be. Green Dragon staring over at that Helpon, just looking for an opportunity to dive in. I don't expect that to be the case. Maybe they're buying time for Thor. Tyr goes in aggressive, takes damage in return. Now they're wasting time. The Thor could show up, does have that ultimate online. Geb making sure they can't back, walking up. That'll stop Pugsley. Sniper Glenn lurking by that fire giant wall. There's a knock up the wall through the wall with the hammer. They should be able to find this kill, but still no ultimate used. Now Hebo gonna look for Sun Wukong in the back while they chase down the Tyr, who can burn a lot of time. The double tap's off the mark. That's a heal too. This Tyr just burned so much time that on the left side of the map, sometimes on time, say it's Gold Fury time.
Yeah, they're getting it, and I think they just figured it out. Gear Chief started looking over there. I think they just figured it out that sometimes on time we're going for this. They got to get some wards up.
And look how many they look how many they got in pocket. Just the 2 for casual. One on the map. I see one by the green buff. I see one safe on your totem, Harpy. They're lacking pretty significantly so. I find it hard to believe almost because in game one thing that neither of us pointed out, even if it had been the case, was their lack of knowledge. They knew where sometimes on time we're on the map, they just didn't have the ability to fight them.
Yeah, you know, that's one thing that is definitely going to have to get cleaned up because, you know, between Scylla, Thor, you have a really good opportunity to contest these objectives, but you're not contesting any of them if you don't even know they're being pulled.
Sniper Glenn now down 2 levels on his Hubba, so damage not equal, but does have the Hydras. So there is a power spike there that they could look to play around. Set level 13, still only 11. That's a big ultimate gone from Green Dragon. Thor into the sky, gonna look for the Anvil of Dawn, lands down on Pugsley. Can't find the follow-up and almost gets dropped with Rama Snipe, should be gone. That is the case. 2 kills for sometimes on time. They take out the jungler and the support at the Stygian Beacon for nothing.
Yeah, that's a tough trade. You know, sometimes on time, gonna get the beacon there. They get some more tower damage. Green Dragon and Sniper are still dead for, you know, another few seconds. Pyro's about to come up. Scylla's playing a dangerous game here.
Sek could just go kill with the emoji there. That
and
almost
May.
was the plan. It's almost the plan.
Yeah, you know, Scylla. Oh, get out
boy.
of there.
Oh boy. Yep.
Oh.
Okay.
Yep.
Avert your eyes.
Well.
Nobody send that clip to Gear Chief's parents. They'll be worried. Come home from the war. We're worried sick. The letters are getting grimier and grimier.
Yes, and
That's tough.
I am absolutely not advocating that anyone clip that and send it directly to Zombie Tantalus at Discord. Unfortunate. Pyro's going to go down now too, so, you know, this gold lead that we talked about that wasn't that serious
Getting serious.
is now becoming more serious. You do still have a pretty significant lead out of your Wukong. I just feel like he has to kind of make some impact here.
Has Prophetic Cloak now as well. So you want to go get it stacked up.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, when the rest of the team's down this bad, if all you do is fight Tyr until he catches up, the lead's wasted.
Ooh, Geb had the rollout caught there, so no escape. But is tanky enough? Is playing a dangerous game, stepping back up. Sniper Glenn will get some farm in the face of Sometimes on-time jungler, but not going to find it there. Geb still being dangerous. Rollout used. Meets the crushing wave, but it's off the mark. That's a go button for Sniper Glyn to hit the sky, but I am not going in if I am
He thought
Andvari's
better of
Greed.
that.
Yeah, they feel the same way. Not a worthy risk, but it's a big ultimate down with the Primal Fury up on the map.
Yeah, you know, it's moments like that when you go up into that Thor ult and you find yourself staring at a potential 3 or 4 man ult in,
Ooh, Kirchi
you know,
might have a chance at this. Gets a
maybe.
crush out. Sometimes on time we'll get the Primal Fury. Not close enough for the Scylla. Should just be a disengage now from Andvari's Greed.
Yeah, Scylla is 4 levels down out of this mid lane now.
Still hasn't finished book.
You need farm. And you know, I like the item Obshard, but I don't like it in the second slot. You know, Obshard itself is a great item, but especially through this early to mid game, you can slot something like Spear of Deso there, Divine Ruin. Scylla has always used flat pin very well because of that free percent pin on her crush once it's at max level. So, you know, you could be getting a little more value here out of this early game. He needs farm. He needs farm. He needs farm.
And it's tough because the only option you had was maybe to have Scylla go solo and have the Sun Wukong rotate. But Tyr is almost caught up. It's probably about a half a level now. The difference between the two. So you can't do that anymore. Rama is behind, so you can't take farm, or excuse me, Hachiman's behind the Rama, so you can't take farm from the Hachi. Thor is also struggling, if not closer. The jungler, there's no good option for the farm. And what's so strange is the tier 1 tower is still up for Andvari's Great.
Yeah, you know, sometimes on time they've gotten basically every objective. They're getting the invades. They're increasing this gold lead. We're sitting around 5K now, and you know, this is going to be the make or break for Andvari's Greed. They're going to have to get something in return here, or this is going to get out of hand.
Yeah, you have to. It's one of you've had your hand forced. There's no more playing back. That's not a monster down in mid, and I'm more concerned about that for Gear Chief in terms of an escape, because that's how it's being used. As you mentioned, the damage is not there. Geb is gone, so you don't have that. Maybe they can get a return on the Pugsley. They will, and it goes to Gear Chief. That's significant.
That is massive. Absolutely massive, and, you know, borderlining massive enough to breathe some life back into Andvari's Greed here. On a side note, unfortunately for Sometimes on Time, the fact that they got that tower from the beacon proc means they don't get the gold from it.
They don't need it.
It
They
is
don't care.
always nice.
They can just kill Scylla. Oh, maybe not. I was gonna let it just be. There it is. Moment of silence for Gear Chief. Later on, when we play Helldivers, I will not bring up the Scylla game. I think that is my strategy for this game. Not to break the fourth wall too much. But. All right, that's a big one for Andvari Greed fans everywhere. The casual one stepping up again, getting the Pyromancer steal. A vibe shifter for Andvari's Greed in the comms, I'm sure. If not small in scale, I mean, I take that 10 times out of 10. Those are those kind of plays that at least they uplift spirits for a couple minutes. You know, the guy who just smacked his desk and spilled his drink can get a giggle at the Pyro steal.
Well, you know, especially when you're down, when you're getting pressured like this. Okay, all right, we're safe. It was close, though. But, you know, when you're getting pressured like this, when you're down, especially after a Game 1 loss like that, mentals can be down, morale can go down, and it can be difficult to get back up. So any play that's positive is huge.
positive for sometimes on time. They get the Oni Fury and they have a fight lined up in front of them if they can find it the right opening. Gear Chief lurking from the green buff, only level 16, a nice wall, could help out, not going to. Bathwater going to bring down green. Dragon, Pugsley will get their own from the casual one. No more Sun Wukong, who has been a force to be reckoned with for Andvari's Greed up to this point. Now 5 to 14, Andvari's Greed are on the back foot, and soon to be against the ropes. They still have tier 2 towers standing, at least for the time being, but at 20 minutes, this feels a heck of a lot like a 30-minute game going wrong.
Yeah, and you kind of see it here on the item bars. Now, SWK did just pick up that Mag Eyes, but Tyr has an item lead on him, if not an XP.
Thor's
early.
in the sky, but very, very, very early and didn't even go as far away as he would have liked. So this will be a Fire Giant for sometimes on time. They get it just before that 21-minute mark. Gold lead now up to 7,000 experience, sitting at 8,000 as level 20s are being hit, at least for sometimes on time. They got those 14 kills, as we touched on. The biggest and most impactful lead that I see will still be that Scylla down level 17 to the 19 of Bathwater on the set. It's not a pretty sight to see if you're an Andvari's Greed fan. I feel like we've touched on everything that they could do to potentially make the comeback, on every little thing they have to do, but and I'm not trying to harp, but it feels like those options, those chances are just being missed time after time, Z.
Yeah, and one of the first things that's going to need to happen, Gear Chief is going to need to pick up Divine Ruin on this Scylla. Oh my.
Well, Pugsley picked up a kill on to Sniper Glenn there. That's for damn sure. A race before he could get to the sky. Transcendence still stuck at 26 stacks there. Farm is becoming a problem for Andvari's Greed if it wasn't already, but now you can't even get it safe in your own jungle. Tyr taking tons of damage, can't even get out, but still fighting. Has ult? No way. There's the Tiger. That should catch, but was it a red herring? Because sometimes on time are on the way, and they just did a lot of damage. The Sun Wukong couldn't do it to Geb, who had the rollout already cooked. Sometimes on time will step into the Phoenix. River's Rebuke used already. I'm a monster. Will be used. Will not help. Pugsley brings down the Scylla. Now will land down from casual one to no avail. Sometimes on time. 4 strong to the 3. Now 4 of Andvari's Greed. We're considering an end. But when the Thor spawned, decided to back up and they'll go for that tier 2 tower instead. Not willing to risk it against 4 strong.
And realistically, you shouldn't be. Making that call to back off there is a trap that so many teams, especially, in these middle to lower divisions, they fall prey to it. The quickest way to blow a good lead is by making an end call that you're not sure about and trying to force it. That's a fast way to get decided. It's a fast way to lose a good lead. I like the restraint.
We almost saw it last game, too.
Yeah. I like the restraint there. Clean up these towers. Get every objective that is currently available on the map. Back. Spend this gold. You still have around 60 seconds left on this FG buff. You now have an extra full item in slot. You have 2 bombs in pocket for Yamoja. You just go get your items and you look to push it down.
I think they do it, because Scylla's not going to do a lot of damage. Thor can't dive in on you. The only risk that you have is the Sun Wukong diving in on you with the Geb and having to respond to that. But as we just saw, Rama is past a point of being able to kill the Sun Wukong. The only person Rama might have a problem killing right now is the Geb, only because of the existence of the Geb passive. So you're doing it a bit slower. But even then, you're still shredding him. You got the Kins online. It just doesn't feel like there's a strong way back in.
It's going to be an uphill fight if Andvari's Greed want to do anything here. And, one of the biggest hurdles in this particular uphill fight is just the lack of anti-heal on the side of Andvari's Greed. Um, you've got Set on the opposing team who has Jotun's Vigor. You have a Yamoja. You have a Rama, or excuse me, yes, a Rama building Devos. You have a Tier with heal. And the only anti-heal item slotted is Envenomed Executioner out of this Hachi. That's rough.
One thing that's a good call about that too is we talked about the lack of farm, so a lack of items from Andvari's Greed. So one could have easily and understandably thought, hey, the anti-heal's coming. But as you said, they're starting to get the items and they still don't have it. We'll see how much of a danger that becomes. Tier looking for a steal and a speed, not going to find it, but could have found a bigger thing. That was a pick. Won't find that either, but still lurking. I don't like the positioning of Andvari's Greed here, sticking on the other side of their Phoenix wall. They're desperate for farm, but you're taking risks. Now you might lose Green Dragon for it. The Shockwave will come out. I don't know if he's going to get out of there in time. The rollout wisely used to escape and distract. Will they fall for it? They do for the moment. Somebody's calling it off, but they're not fully committed to it yet. They're just now letting go of that chase onto the Geb and calling for fire instead.
Okay. I
Okay.
thought we were about to go on a goose chase for a second.
I couldn't believe what I was watching. And now Sniper Glenn, oh boy,
Uh-oh.
just caught in the wrong place, wrong time. Does
Oh!
get the teleport out from the hammer. Massive to be alive. Won't matter in terms of Fire Giant, certainly. That will go to sometimes on time. But there was never a world, I think, where Andvari's Greed was contesting a non-EFG at this stage anyway, given the farm situation, unless they could get it on accident, essentially. So
Well, and even as a eternal pessimist, I like to look for silver linings in these casts, and that is the silver lining. That's not an EFG. You do still have Scylla, who, while not doing all the damage she could, she is doing a good bit. You've got a chance.
how long will that chance last? Sometimes on time are ready for a siege. River's Rebuke is out, but the Yama Monster pulls up huge and takes out Bathwater for sale. Will there be more behind it? There's the Anvil of Dawn. It lands down. It takes out a second. That's the mid and the ADC both gone for sometimes on time. TFC looking for the casual one, not going to find it. Instead, Sun Wukong gets away. Sometimes on time are going for the escape, but they've got a Tier still there to cause havoc, and he could find a kill onto the Tier. No, the Thor gets away thanks to the hammer again. Tier won't find it that time. Now it's an escape mission for the Tier. Will it happen? Probably not. Sun Wukong just waiting. There's a heal. Should go down any second. Right. That's off the mark too. That's off the. There it is. The crush hits.
All right.
Dead goes the Tier. So it's less good than it was 10 seconds ago, but they still defend. And Andvari's Greed get 3 kills behind it. Again, I'm sure they would have loved to not have them spread out so much, but Mid Phoenix did fall. It's not a perfect situation, Z, but do you still take that?
You absolutely take that. Your biggest gripe so far, and with as down as they've been, is the gold differential, the XP differential. And you're now hitting 20. That XP lead can only get so big. It stops at 20. You got a gold out of it. You got 3 kills. You proved, if nothing else, to yourselves that you are capable of fighting this. You are capable of doing this. That's a huge, huge win.
Stella's online now too. We saw how big the Yama Monster went. Ratsuhudi, that's huge. This is all huge. It's just, is it too little, too late? Question will be looming until you win a fight fully. And that was almost the fight, but as we mentioned, just everything too delayed. The Tier did such a great job there. As much as it feels like an Andvari's Greed mistake, it really is a great play from TFC to just make sure that there is as much time wasted as possible. And it worked out great. Now it kind of becomes a, from here, what do you do? Okay, I was looking at that, and There are a few times I'm speechless. In that scenario, I was thinking, okay, surely we either go in or we have a reason for being here for tier. Maybe we want the pick on the Scylla, which is a weird interaction you don't typically see at 30 minutes in a
I
game when you're
I'm
on
not sure I like
defense.
this.
You
This
don't
is
like the
dangerous.
siege. Can they pull it
I,
off?
they can. It's possible, but you've got to remember you no longer have fire on this Rama or the set. And there is still a Scylla who is
Ooh.
now stronger than the last time that she defended.
Yeah, and Set already got poked. Set's going to go in aggressive despite the poke, but might just die. I'm a monster, going to be off the mark. Set was able to break through. Two-man Fearless, big from TFC, but was it big enough? Because Sniper Glenn already got a kill for Andvari Screed. Sometimes on timer, just pushing through despite losing the beginning of the fight, and with the Rama snipes, it could be huge. There's a knock-up, there's the cannon, down goes Gear Chief. It's responded to by the casual one, 2 for 2 so far. Sometimes on timer still in the throne room, but a cookie named Joe gonna hold on strong and take out the Rama. Just 2 left standing for sometimes on time. So despite the good stuff, despite being able to win it, they again cannot siege and cannot beat Andvari's Greed in their throne room.
And the interesting thing about this is, with the characters that are currently dead, Andvari's Greed have the option to go schwink that fire giant.
It's EFG too.
And it looks like that may be what they're headed to do, and it's a good call.
If you get to it soon, though, you can't lollygag about. You do have fire minions coming in from that duo side. You have your mid Phoenix back. Thor will be the one to deal with the fire minions coming in from left, but they haven't gotten to the EFG yet. Now Respawn's coming through. That's going to be everybody up for some time. So
we're past that. That
opportunity
potential
long
call
gone.
is dead. But what's not dead is your whole team, who you now have up, and that defense that they got while losing the left bird. They got the 3 kills, and now everyone is up. You do not have to give up this FG uncontested.
Where's their contest? Thor is in duo, Scylla working around slowly from the right in a Mission Impossible style sneak attempt, but might need to rush in. Opportunities are presenting themselves. There's the crush. Now Scylla will be revealed. Still no fire giant pulled from either side. Thor working back over to solo, but fire minions are not dead. They still will be pushing in. Now Sun Wukong will back to be the one to deal with that, I would assume. Okay, guess not. Gear Chief might be caught out here. Tyr sees it. Sentinel was online for Gear Chief to get away. Still backing. Tyr might see that. Gear Chief is kind of working Andvari's Greed back here, Z.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know that you go for outright contestion here, but a pick would be huge.
Beats Aegis on the set. Tyr slams in, finds Sniper Glenn, brings the back to Set, who will get the kill before the Anvil of Dawn can go off. One down already for the blue side. That's going to be a second one gone as Pugsley finds a cookie named Joe, and sometimes on time. Might not even need the fire if these picks continue coming through. Duo side Phoenix still dead. Fire minions begin to pour in, sometimes on time. Look at the fire giant.
Yeah, and it looks like they are going to just straight up get that EFG, and, really breaking down that last engagement. What that came down to was a poorly timed back from the mid laner of Andvari's Greed. Tyr saw what was going on, called it in the comms, and they moved to engage without Andvari's Greed's mid there. There was no AoE for those jungle corridors. They got picks, and now you're sitting on EFG in a siege.
Yamoja sprinting at them, Set following up. Mid Phoenix will die. That's 2 Phoenixes down for sometimes on time to just step right on through and do what they want. Sun Wukong may die on landing, will be vulnerable. A blink through from the Tyr to try to set up. Rama Snipes will come out looking for the Sun Wukong, and they will find SWK. That's a tough death. 60 seconds for Sun Wukong will not be present in this particular siege into the throne room. Solo side Phoenix is the last one standing, and sometimes in time will back up. They're looking for it. Will they commit to it? Yes, they will. They'll have it easily. Tyr dives in, looks for something, can't find it yet, gets the Fearless onto the Hachiman, but that's by the Titan. Now River's Rebuke is out, has the Titan trapped in between, and has the Fountain locked away. Big two-man stun. I'm a monster. Can they bring him down in time? Titan down low at 10%, still hanging on. Andvari's Greed don't want to go down quite that easy. A double kill for Sniper Glenn. There's the root from Gear Chief. Will not matter. Sometimes on time, sweep the set. If not close at the end, they do get the better of Andvari's Greed.
That was almost one of the most shocking defenses I would have ever seen. I might have hung up my smite badge after if that had happened. Uh great set played from sometimes on time here. They played great both games. They had the pressure both games and they used it. Moving into next week, the coming weeks, and Vari's Greed they've got some of the pieces. They just need to fit them together better.
Rarely I feel like I'm able to point at something. I feel pretty confident saying it's I'm not saying it's a shot caller or lack thereof. It's effective shot calls that seem to be missing.
Yeah, it definitely could be. And the bright note there is that this is something you can coach. This is something you can teach. This is something you
100%.
can work on. You can't make people hit abilities. You can't train people to land more autos, but you can teach them how to think. And moving forward, I think that's the biggest takeaway Anvari's Greed need to take from this. Uh, Sometimes on time, their biggest takeaway is a win.
I was just gonna say you're answering my question before I can even ask it. So if their biggest takeaway is a win, composition wise, are we comfortable with everything we saw? Because going back to our OG points in both picks and bans, the composition that we saw from Sometimes on Time in Game 1 and Game 2 that both worked so well were both untraditional and seem to just work for them. Do you keep that up? Do you maybe work out some new solo picks? What would be your advice there?
Um, you know, I might work on the comp a little bit. I feel like you did kind of get away with murder on the set pick. And I think that was largely in part to the lack of anti-heal being built out of Anvari's Greed. That set healing on top of the Emoja and everything else, it just, I think if you have a lot more anti-heal going there, that maybe becomes a different conversation. Um, but if it works, it works.
Well, I think that is a perfect way to end it. If it works, it works, and it worked. For Sometimes on Time did not work for Andvari's Greed, but a pleasant future, especially early on in this season of animosity for Jotunheim division. But that will do it for us tonight. Sometimes on Time do take it 2-0. My name has been Anthony Malum. I was joined by Z-Tan with Soulslaw, doing so fantastic on production. As always, you have a wonderful night and be safe, and we'll see you next time.